Right, should we get this pantomime horse of a podcast underway for week
Action.
3? Right,
Hello.
no,
Hello.
stop messing around and buckle up because we've got lots to talk about this week. I've got 3 topics to talk about. One is talking to AI and what that really means, because I've had some interesting conversations this week. Second is really around customers and how they're buying AI, and I've noticed a change over the last 3 months or so, which has only just kind of really occurred to me this week. And then the third topic was really to hear about your exciting week because you have had the busiest week ever. Well, I don't know about that, but it's been pretty old busy. So maybe you should share with our listener what you've been up to this week.
Well, I'm happy to start there, and thank you. And first, I should thank you for your birthday gift
Oh, yes.
for last week. Perhaps we should wait till the end. You've got to stay till the end to find out what it actually was.
Okay.
Perhaps,
Yeah, that's
there you
right.
go. Let's try and
Or they could
remember.
just fast forward. They just move the little slider
Oh, yeah,
across. It's
yeah.
not. Yeah.
Do that if you want. We could pretend to move really fast. Anyway. Right. My week, very, very busy week. And today is nice to be sort of back in the office effectively because I've been running around the place. It started out in Glasgow, which was great fun. As you know, Tony, our head of product delivery. I don't really know what his title is. I never
He
remember.
doesn't know what his title is either, so don't worry about it.
He's like, he's the guy that kind of makes it all happen in the background and talks to the tech team and talks to customers. Wonderful. But he took me on a little tour of Glasgow when I was up there, and I was speaking at Scotland's Housing Festival. So that is now, I've spoken, it's a Chartered Institute of Housing event. And I have now spoken. I started out speaking at their All Ireland event a year and a bit ago. And then they said that was okay, well done. You can now speak at our Welsh event. And I was like, great, that's brilliant. And they said, right, okay, well done. You can now speak at the English event. So I got to do that in Liverpool in September. And then finally, the big time, we made it to Glasgow, which Tony was very delighted about. So yeah, that was a really good session, and I can say a bit more about it. And then I came back from there and straight into West London College, where we've been for 2 days with our FEAI hat on. Focused our partnership there on building products for FE colleges. And which is really, really interesting because as you know, Knowledge Flow as a platform is brilliant at being your kind of one-stop AI for your staff that's auditable and secure. But now we're building more and more niche tools for those organisations, for the sectors. And as I was sharing earlier with our in a housing conversation, the model which I'm loving that we're doing is we'll work with a college or a housing association for free to build the thing that works for them, as long as they're happy that we can then push that thing to all the other customers in that same sector. So it's kind of a really nice sector-led approach that we're taking. And the West London College thing was brilliant. We started with the executive team, the entire executive team, and the CEO there was very, I think, brilliantly astute that you can't just put a bit of AI and hang it around the place and hope, as we would say.
As we know.
You need to manage it and make sure that people feel confident and make sure that we're pushing that out in a managed change program, really. So under her kind of request, really, we ran these 2 days of hackathons, which started with the exec team, where we really spent most of the time on AI implementation strategy and have got now some really good kind of, at least the building blocks of that, with the full exec team involved and on board and with that, which is brilliant. And then we did 2-hour sessions with each of their kind of key teams. It was an open invite to them to bring everyone in their team or just them and a couple of colleagues or whatever they wanted to do. So we went to HR, teaching and learning, marketing, flexible learning, which is their distance learning, kind of work-based learning offer. And others that I'm forgetting, not doing service to.
So how many did you have in the room?
Up to probably 10, 12 people in the biggest ones and 2 or 3 in some of the smaller ones.
Okay.
But brilliant, because what we did was straight into a kind of really open, relaxed conversation about what they do, where their challenges are, and how we might be able to do some things. And then brilliantly, as I had the whole leading AI team kind of on standby. available to join us, and we got Donald in, our CTO, to talk about a really kind of challenging thing, and it was brilliant just to bring him up on the big screen. He was in for about 10 minutes. I kind of briefed him for about 30 seconds on what it was we were talking about. He asked some questions. There was a discussion in the room, and we've gone away with a kind of clarity on what we can do. There's some other work to do. And then brought Ben in later in the afternoon, which was brilliant, to talk about a marking and assessment tool that would just save huge amounts of time in kind of cutting through having to kind of check off everything in a student's work. So really, really good. So yeah, I think it's brilliant, and it sets the college up for, I think, a really interesting next kind of few months of getting AI into the hands of all of their staff, and I think is a model for the sector, because it really, that commitment and the progress that we made with that commitment, I think it was just tremendous. So that, of course, it's like our whole world has always been. It's now about follow up, and will we get it done? And okay, so we're going to keep that momentum up. That's the next part.
It was I was chatting to Donald last night, and he tells the story slightly differently, which was very funny. He said, I took a phone call from Kieron, and he said, "Have you got a minute?" And I went, "Yeah." And he said, "Right." And he turned me, "Right, now you're on the big screen and you're in front of all of these people." And he's like, "Boom." No pressure. So he tells it slightly differently. But I think the thing about that I really liked was that whole kind of, we've got this problem. This is what we're trying to do. Can we actually do it? I don't know. Let's get on and find a way to scope it out and then create something, draft something. And I think that whole kind of hackathon approach of, well, let's build it and let's give it a go, is just so powerful, especially when people are skeptical about using AI. It's that whole kind of, well, here it is, prove it. You tell me what works, tell me what doesn't. Let's fix it. Let's adjust it. Let's tweak the settings. Let's try and make it for you there and then. And I put out a piece this morning, which was along the lines of, other consultancies will show you the demo. You tell us what your problems are, and we'll build it for you, and you can tell us whether it works or not. So that's a really different approach, which yeah, I really enjoyed that. So I'm glad the team were all super helpful with that. So it sounds like a really good session with those with that college.
Fantastic, brilliant, and we want to do more of them now. So it's really, yeah, I think that is the way to really drive a good change program. As you know, that's our background. That's what we really know and love, and yeah, that works really well.
Yeah, interesting. That leads into one of the topics that I had, which was the talking to AI. I was chatting to somebody who, bright person. They'd used the tools, but they said, I don't really know how to talk to AI, and talk was the word that they used, and it just made me think about it. And I said, well, I did the usual thing of, well, you need to treat it like a conversation. It's not like Google search, and you kind of need to try and have a backwards and forwards and challenge it. Don't just accept what it says. Go back and push it and prod it and ask it to critique, not to just tell you what the answer is. And he said, yeah, I know all that, but it feels awkward to me. And somebody else mentioned to me a piece on the BBC, which you might have seen, with I think it was Dr. Hannah Fry, about the way that people talk to AI. And I haven't actually seen it, but that sounded like a really interesting program that I should go and watch. Did you see that one?
I did, yeah. I saw AI Confidential, and it was.
Is that what it was called? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the kind of I guess the hook part was, there was a guy that got into Windsor Castle with a crossbow in 2023, and he was going to kill the Queen, and apparently his AI girlfriend had encouraged him to, and they were looking at the transcripts of those conversations that he'd had. But the sort of wider point is, what does it mean for us as humans to have this thing that can do amazing stuff, and is ultimately, in this case, pretty sycophantic, really, isn't it? It encourages you along whatever route you want to go down. So it was an early kind of pre-ChatGPT AI tool, really. But yeah, it was kind of it's interesting. I think that wider question about what it means for our psychology, and not just in that kind of relationship. And I've asked quite a lot about, sort of challenged, I guess, quite a lot about, if we're building all these tools that are kind of doing the thinking, what does that mean for people and humans in that role in the future? And on the most basic level, a policy assistant that already gives you the answers and doesn't need you to know and interpret. It will interpret the policy for the requirement you've got. Is that a good or bad thing? And I mean, it's a thing and it's a definite fact, is my view. And I think, interestingly, as you know, we in our social worker tools, what we see quite often is a pattern where people will ask more. So they'll go, I didn't know that, tell me more about that. So they're educating themselves via the AI response that they just received. So there is some evidence that it's not about making you more stupid. It's about, it can be used to, add your curiosity, to satisfy your curiosity.
Yeah.
But it is a concern, I think, for everybody. But the reality is, here's the thing, and I never shared this on stage, but I was asked this question at the Scotland event. It's a similar thing. What does it mean for us? We're all going to get stupid. If you think about what calculators have done for most people's maths, you do kind of think, well, maybe there may well be something in this. So I think guarding against it. Yeah, go on.
There were two other things that came to mind when I was thinking about it. One was and it was related to actually use of the AI tools in education, in schools specifically, and the person said, "Can your AI see what students have written down?" And I said yes. It is in the safeguarding administration tool. And that's super important, being able to spot those areas. Not everybody has that switched on or rolled out, but I think it's one of those areas that probably more people should than not. I think it's a really interesting debate. And then there's a second, which was something you raised when we were talking earlier about AI knowing you and having to start again every single time. And how do you create how do you create an AI that knows, so that you don't have to say, don't write with bullet points every time, or don't write with don't use the M dash or whatever else people get mucked about on using ChatGPT.
Yeah, no, you're right. I know that's the amnesiac AI that you come back to, and it's like fresh again every time. And some of our tools are like that. And I was just chatting with Donald about this on Claude. Claude have got an option there, Claude Co-work, which we can't use, of course, because it's not secure enough, but where they've got a way of remembering what you want it to about you. And I think that we could build that into Knowledge Flow. I'm quite interested in that same piece that would enable you to, well, firstly pick up from your conversations about some of your likes and dislikes, but also you could actually go in and say, here's my writing style, here's some whatever, if you wanted to. Yeah, interesting. I think it's an essential, really, isn't it? Now, I think I use Perplexity for search, as you know, I think, and that has a memory built into it, which is quite handy. I don't have to tell it about which MacBook I've got if I'm asking about that. And indeed, I don't have to tell it about Knowledge Flow if I'm asking about that. It knows I run an AI company, but Knowledge Flow is our platform. And it's quite handy because it will quite often say to me in its answer, it'll say, and this is relevant to you in your Knowledge Flow development, which is quite fun.
Tell me more about Glasgow then. So I used to live in Glasgow. I don't know if you knew that. I used to hang out in the West End. That was great. It was a great party town.
I enjoyed the crack. I don't suppose it's called the crack there, is it? It's probably something else. But
I'm not even going to vaguely pronounce it, because I'll end up in as much trouble as you. It's a long time since I lived there, but it was
Tony
good.
introduced me to what he described as trad music,
Yeah.
which was 5 people with an accordion and 1 person with a guitar, and someone with some bagpipes. Which was,
of course, they had bagpipes. It was
but
Scotland.
they were all like no older than 20, I would say, and that really surprised me more than anything.
That's good,
I assumed that accordion players were all in their 60s. I thought this is my bias. I'm like, here I am, like ChatGPT now.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me a picture of an accordion player.
Yeah, you just got a biased view. So what was the best thing about Glasgow, and what was the key takeaway that you think people would have taken from your session?
Oh, that's tricky, isn't it? My story arc for my session, which is probably the best thing, of course, but no, I'm sure it wasn't. The Tunnock's tea cakes were probably the best thing. Let's be clear. And a close second was my AI for AI strategy. My story arc was the usual kind of start of AI's here. It's going to transform things. and here's some things you need to know about AI in order to kind of help you as a senior leader think about where that fits in your organization.
Yeah.
I then did a little bit of let me show you a couple of things. Let's not just talk about how AI is going to help. Let me show you some of the work we're doing with other housing associations. So I did a quick flick through demo of those, and then got on to, so what do you need to do, which is strategy. So, which is around, as we know and have said many times, is AI. An AI implementation is not a technology problem. It is a skills and culture challenge. It's a change management challenge. So it's sort of one element of your strategy, and arguably probably the one that needs doing pretty urgently is the skills and culture. Then it's the products and technology and priorities. What are you actually trying to fix with what? And then you've got data, which is really important for everybody to get on the road with. And finally, governance, which is if you're not governing the thing, and who decides what AI we're taking, who decides, and indeed what level of sign off is appropriate. So is it, when do you need the board to sign off that you're going to try some new AI? Because if you're using kind of, all of your data and allowing it to get towards decision making, which is the dangerous world, you probably do need board. There's enough risk there that you certainly want those ethical check questions versus, can I summarize this document, which is a personal decision probably, and there'll be different hierarchies of that. And in governance, as I always sort of say to people, is thinking about, how fast or slow are you going? Do you have red lines that you want to introduce right now to your organization? Such as I know some independent schools that say we are not using AI for assessment, for marking, because they feel that that's what parents are paying for, and they're paying for a human to do that. I don't agree with them. I think AI is better than humans at that most of the time, but it doesn't make a difference what I say. As I say when I'm on stage, it's not as irrelevant what I think. That's a governance and a governance decision. And the only thing I always say to people is, if you are going to do any of those red line things, just make sure you review them in a year at least, maybe sooner, because the reality is AI is catching up all the time.
Yeah.
So Scotland was great, and I have to say also, I flew up, because it's like 5 hours and 40 minutes from Euston to Glasgow on the train. And that's a long time, isn't it? So I flew up, and it was cheaper. In fact, it was quite a lot cheaper to fly. And on the way up there, it was a bit delayed. They did a thing where get this, we were on board the plane. The captain said, he said, sorry about the delay. We realised we did something, we packed the bags wrong or something. So they had to take them all off, re-scan them all, and put them all back on. Which they did do in less than 10 minutes, which is pretty impressive, but annoying. So I was like, I'm going by train next time, because that's the trouble with the flying, as you know, is you got bloody taxi, tube, waiting in line to get searched, an hour maybe knocking around in the airport, half an hour waiting in a queue to board, sitting on a plane that you can't really get your laptop out easily. All wasted time. So and anyway, then I flew back, and they took off early. And landed half an hour early into Heathrow. So I was kind of like, oh, now you've put me back in, and do I fly on train? Anyway.
Yeah, and I have to say, sometimes it takes more than 5 hours and 40 minutes to get via train to.
Okay.
Sometimes there are a few challenges. I know that West Coast line very well. So
so I shouldn't. Okay.
Now, did you do two things on stage in Glasgow? I want to know. Did you input the picture of mold and get it to analyze it? You forgot?
Forgot. It's so annoying. The biggest challenge I have on stage is I've got so much I could share, and I do a few rabbit holes, partly on purpose for authenticity, and partly because I get a bit carried away and decide to share something else. But when I was doing the demo, I was very conscious I needed to move at pace, so I forgot to do. Because as you know, the thing is amazing. You can upload a picture of mold to the housing repairs assistant, and it will look at that, tell you what it is, categorize it as the level of risk that mold is, and then give you what you need to do next.
Yeah.
Incredible. So you could have a world where a tenant via an app uploads the picture of the mold, and it could go straight through into a repair, no human touching it if you wanted it to, or not. It could go through lots of approval steps if you wanted it to too.
Sounds brilliant, and you forgot to do it. Fabulous.
I know. It was so many things. As always, it is my challenge. But as you said, when we talked about it, for me, when I put my slides up, I don't really know what I'm going to say. I got loads of notes. I wrote loads of notes to sort of for confidence, I guess, the night before in the hotel and in the morning. And then I said to Tony, Tony came to the session, which was great to have him there. And I said to him, "You watch what I'll do. It's just watch me. My notes are all there, right, on the lectern. I don't put them in my hand. As soon as I start, I'll walk off." And I did, and I find myself standing on the other side of the stage, and I'm like, "Oh no!" And then the next slide comes up, and I'm like, oh, "Okay, it's that one. Brilliant. I know the slide. I know I obviously put them together, but I don't quite know what I'm going to say and for how long on each of them."
He did say you wandered around like a TV presenter in a talk show with your microphone.
Did he?
You always wanted to be on TV.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I did walk into the audience when there was a question, so I wandered off with it. So
yeah,
that's
hilarious.
my way. But yeah,
very good.
It was really good, and yeah, we got a few interesting conversations straight afterwards. We were asking people if they want to kind of pilot stuff with us, then let us know. And we had, I think, nine of them that have got in contact via the website for more info. So it's all, yeah, that feels like a good place to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you show the Excel stuff then? Did you?
I can't remember, probably. I have, though, all week been talking about it in our new product. So this is
which is why I was asking whether you presented it. You were so excited about it earlier in the week. I thought you must have done it. But now I'm worried that given that you forgot the mouldy bit.
Here's the thing you got to know about when I stand on stage at any of these events is I try to limit talking about our products because they're not, I want to give people lots of value and not be all about what we can do.
Sure.
I want to show them what's possible, and that's part of that is the case. But I don't know. Ask Tony if I shared anything. Probably.
I'll ask him if he was awake. He won't be able to remember. He'll have stuffed himself full of Tunnock's teacakes. He'll have had his mouth full.
But product of the week, though, we need a jingle, really, don't we, for product of the week?
Brilliant. We'll get one.
There you go. There you go. But insert jingle here. I tell you what, I saw Stuart Francis, as he called a comedian.
Yeah.
I saw him speaking, and he was talking about Brexit. And he said, "The most annoying thing about Brexit," he said, "I released a DVD, and if I put music on it now, I have to go and get the approval in each jurisdiction." And he said, "It's a nightmare." So he said, "So imagine, what I want you to do now is imagine some music playing in your minds as I speak about the next bit."
Imagine a jingle.
It's brilliant. So if you imagine your own jingle now, listener.
That's right. All right, I've got it.
It's product of the week. So you talked about the safeguarding. We've got safeguarding and Excel stitching, as we call it, which is, as usual, coming up with our own names for stuff to make it more simple and easy to understand than the way the rest of the world works. Safeguarding is really cool. You talked about it before. That's about triggering. We get automatic alerts and customers get automatic alerts if high-risk phrases are entered via their knowledge flow platform. So it's essential for any student-facing tools. The DFE require it. You've got to have it. And indeed, there is a real challenge for schools and colleges. And I say this to them a lot, is we can trigger the alert to you. And if you get that alert at midnight and do nothing with it, and let's say the worst happens, you knew at midnight there was a problem, but you didn't have staff in there. And that's a new problem for most colleges and schools. You don't have that. It doesn't exist really at the moment. So there is some real, there's workflow wider problems than sort of the AI's challenge, but it is worth noting. But yeah, the safeguarding thing is really good because it just gives that extra layer of protection for everybody involved, which is great. But Excel stitching, so knowledge flow has for a while been able to get an Excel and do amazing things with it. We've now made that, well, I say we, this is all Donald's work, really. I'm just basking in the glory as usual.
Chief Technical Wizard, as I've titled him.
CTW. Yeah. But so it can take sort of unlimited Excel files and multiple sheets, and it handles all of that. It creates an SQL matching SQL database. But where it gets clever is it will automatically create a relational database between different sheets or indeed different Excel uploads, and match automatically on what it can see as a common identifier. If there isn't one, obviously it cannot. But it's even cleverer than simply the sort of, normally with a common identifier, you have to have an exact title, exactly the same. But there's some good AI stuff going on that means that it will infer a little bit. So you need to check, but it will infer if it looks like it's the same thing, just called something different in that system. So student ID might be called student number, or student reference, or reference. But if they look the same, then it can do a relational database. And the reason that matters, as you know, is that you've suddenly got this wonderful world where you can upload 3, 4, 5 different data sets and ask questions in natural language across all of that. And I mean, that excites me enormously, because as you know, that I keep saying, as you know, I'm going to stop saying that. Things like Snowflake, the data warehouses, the data lakes that are big, and people spend a lot of time and money trying to get their data into there. I keep on wondering, it is no doubt easier if all of your data is well organized and categorized in a warehouse or lake. It is, because you're pointing the AI at one place and you've already in the background done the work to kind of clean it up and join it up. So it's easier, but that's expensive, and it's not easy to get to that point. AI can take it straight from the database or the spreadsheet. Let's be clear, you don't necessarily need to even have it in a nice structured database. So I kind of, the future of that is, I think, really interesting, and I'm not surprised to see the stock value of some of those companies not going in the right direction, or it's not the way their shareholders would want it to go anyway. Because
I got an email this week from a council saying, would you be interested in bidding for a BI project? We want to put BI on top of some data set and create dashboards for various aspects of the work that we're doing. And I was like, I don't think there's a future in that. It's like, actually, but there's a much easier way of doing that, and it's not the way that you've set out this project. It would be much better to just take that data, stick it into Knowledge Flow, or other tools are available for the for people, for the one listener, but then using natural language querying on top to actually get the information that you want. And you can use visualizations then to create pie charts, graphs, trend analysis, whatever you want. But creating, a hardwired BI powered solution is just old-fashioned thinking.
It's 2024 speaking.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think here's the thing with infographic is, you can ask it for an infographic, which for most humans is better than a dashboard.
Yeah.
And because it just explains it so much nicer. Normally, nicer is wrong word, but I think that is absolutely the future of it.
But that kind of links to one of the things I said right at the start, which was one of my topics, was I think the way that people are buying AI has changed, and I've only just realised it this week. And before, people used to go, let's give it a go, let's run a trial, or let's just it's cheap enough that we can just put it under the procurement radar and we can just get on with it. Let's put the guardrails in place for data and GDPR and all of that contractual stuff that we actually have to do. But one of the things I've noticed this year, and so we're only in month 3, we're only at the start of month 3 really, but there's more committees, there's many more demos. We used to do one demo and people go, like it, off we go. Now we're doing at least 2, more often 3, sometimes 4. And is it just because people can't get all the decision makers on a Teams call at the same time, or is there more to it than that? And in a previous life, I used to work in an organisation selling risk management software for clinical trials. So you can imagine that was quite tricky. We would expect 8 or 9 different groups for it to go through, because you had to go through quality assurance, operations, etc. But with a simple RAG solution, I'll give you an example. I chatted to some GPs, and they said, "Is it a class 1 medical device?" I was like, "What?" It's like, is it going to be giving medical advice? It's like, no, we're talking about policy, buddy, so that your people do the right things and don't say the wrong things. We're not talking about, medical diagnosis. I don't want to get into that, but if you wanted to, then that is a very different thing. But don't assume the worst case scenario. Let's just start with some simple things like, you know, how are you answering complaint letters? Because here's the other thing. One of the things they said to me, and you must have seen this in housing, because I don't deal with housing, I don't really know. But one of the things they said to me was that the quality, in inverted commas, of complaint letters have gone through the roof because people are using ChatGPT and others to write high quality complaint letters, and if the response that they get back isn't high quality, then all they do is just stick it back into ChatGPT and say, "What do you think of that?" And it comes out rubbish. Go back and answer. So they end up in this kind of escalating cycle. So stuff that used to be easy now isn't. And so I was like, well, you could just. That's not a class 1 medical device. Don't make it harder than it is. That's
exactly.
simply answering different categories of complaint, some of which the AI can't handle. Absolutely, it's going to need your GP to answer that. If not, the practice manager or the GP needs to answer these ones. But these simple ones here, absolutely, you can sort those out. So, but really interesting that it feels like AI, whereas it used to be sort of a bit kind of niche and a bit sort of projecty, now is becoming much of a more mainstream IT purchase. I don't know whether that's just my observations in the conversations I've been having, but that was one of my revelations from this week.
Yeah, interesting, really interesting. And I think, I mean, I recognize all of that, and often we'll do a demo and people are blown away by it, and rightly so, because it is very impressive. And not just because it's a bit of AI, but because these are niche products designed for their sector, so they can see things that they just couldn't do with any of the other products
like
very
taking
easily.
pictures of mold and telling you the category of quality and what they need to do about it, and then routing it through to their repairs people who then can get the right stuff and fix it.
Exactly.
Stuff they didn't even know existed
just as
because
an
no one told them.
There'll be an example, but there are others.
That's I'm sure, right.
But then often what happens is they often like that then have to take 3 steps back because they realize AI can do lots of cool stuff. Now it's like, oh, so I thought it was just a thing I was going to see and maybe buy for me, and then you see how important and impactful it could be, and I think it ends up being a bigger conversation, which is a real challenge in our world, as you know, because we need to bring in enough new customers each month to make sure that we're able to grow and keep on doing what we're doing. So trying to force people to go a bit quicker. I mean, public services aren't known for their pacey buying at the best of times, let alone when it's something a bit novel.
That's a great segue. I had 2 lessons from this week. Last week you asked me about my lessons learned.
Yes.
One of my lessons was speed kills. And we used to talk about that when we were playing rugby. If you couldn't catch the man with the ball, you had no chance. They were going to score every time. If they got it to their fastest player, they were always away. Speed kills. And there are other analogies that you can use in life, but
I'm gathering you weren't the fastest player at any point, so I don't think this was applying to you.
You are so rude. There was one time I scored a try, and my wife came up to the pitch afterwards, and she was chatting to one of my friends. She said, "Oh, is Neil playing? Where's he playing? He's playing out on the wing. He's just scored." And I can't tell you the words that she used, but one of them was, "Fuck." She didn't believe that I'd scored. Outrageous. Anyway, come back to my point about speed kills. With AI, speed kills. 2 things. One is things are moving so fast, and it's only been a week or so since Claude did an upgrade. This morning, I saw that ChatGPT 5.4 has been announced, so the models are just moving really so quickly. And then at the other end, speed kills because people go so slow. I've had a number of conversations this week where people say, "Oh, we're just not ready," or the team aren't ready, or it doesn't quite do this, or I wanted toast, but can it do eggs as well? And is that it just actually the stalling piece? I know find frustrating, but we've got 2 examples of speed. Some people are moving so incredibly fast. automating things, automating workflows, making stuff happen, taking away those drudgery and difficult tasks. And at the other end, people still stalling because it's, I don't know why. I've had lots of conversations with people about it, and lots of people talk about fear of AI. I'm not sure it is fear of AI. I think it is that kind of almost, I'm too busy, so messing up the status quo is too hard for me. So I don't really want to do anything. But yeah, speed kills was one of my lessons learned, and both going too fast and going too slow.
Yeah, how interesting. I mean, yeah, we see it all the time. It's very frustrating. My biggest bugbear, and getting out to sharing with enough people what we've got, because Knowledge Flow as a platform is absolutely tremendous. I mean, I keep up with AI constantly, and yeah, I mean, there's OpenClaw and Claude Cowork are incredibly impressive tools. Knowledge Flow is not very far behind and is secure, and which changes everything and gives you consistency across your whole organization. Doesn't need a load of AI skills for your staff to use it, but can equally accommodate people that want to, you know, create brand new amazing things and test stuff out. So it's just, I wish we could, I kind of want to just kind of grab every CEO and to just have a look at it and understand what it could do for your business. And as you know, the passion really at the heart of it all is, I want to make public services, and I know you do too. I want to improve public services through AI, because it can hit so many of those entrenched problems that have forever caused trouble in public services. And I want to do that. And we are deeply inexpensive, and it's frustrating as hell when we just can't get in front of people, or, you know, when they go, oh, yeah, that's a bit more expensive than I was thinking. Well, you're thinking, what do you think is a fiver? You know, how much more? We are not expensive. We are not, by any measure of the word.
Yeah.
Even my kids wouldn't think that we're expensive, and they think. Anyway.
Yeah, they're profligate, aren't they? Anyway, speaking of kids, did you have them round for Sunday dinner?
Oh yes, coming to this. So what did I get for birthday? I got a kilogram of goose fat and a kilogram of duck fat. It's quite possibly the weirdest present I've ever received. When I got them out, I was like, "What are those?" And then it all came, because you'd given me a few clues, hadn't you? To that it would, I'd like it more by Sunday afternoon than I would when I got it. And that's when Donald said, "Have you got a foot spa?" Which made me laugh.
Swimming.
Yeah. So, but thank you very much. I used duck fat, made duck fat roast potatoes. They were a big success, and we were still eating them on Tuesday, and they were delicious.
Oh, excellent. Very good.
And you're off snowboarding now, aren't you?
I am. That does mean that you're going to need to find a new partner in podcast crime for next week.
Wow.
So you better give that some thought and try and find someone who's prepared to talk nonsense with you for 45 minutes.
Well, maybe you should dial in from the slopes and.
I thought about it.
Perhaps not.
But yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm not sure you want to see me in that kind of. I was going to say state. I do mean state. Yeah. No, I'm not doing that. No, it's a holiday. I'm taking some time off. But yeah, you need to find a new partner in podcast crime, and then maybe our listener won't fall asleep if he's if he's got someone.
You might be out of a job the week after. Who knows? We'll see what we can find. We have a guest.
Are you talking about podcasting, or is there something else you need to tell me?
Sorry, you had to find out through this podcast.
I'm going to find out I've been fired through the medium of podcast. I wonder if I'll be the first person.
There you go. Righto, well, listen, have an amazing time on the slopes. I'm not at all jealous. And yeah, we will look forward to your return in 2 weeks on our podcast.
Excellent. All right, fella. Well, I will speak to you when I'm back. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Try goose fat roasties this Sunday, and let us know how you get on with them.
I will do. Take care,
All right,
everybody.
fella.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.